Good evening, everyone. Welcome to City Hall and to the Little Rock Board of Directors meeting for February 21st, 2017. I'd like to welcome everyone who is with us tonight as we do the city's business. Madam Clerk, if you would you please read the roll?
Director Hendricks, Director Richardson, Director Peck.
Here.
Director Hines.
Here.
Director Wright.
Here.
Director Wyrick.
Here.
Director Compuris. Director Fortson.
Here.
Director Adcock. Vice Mayor Webb.
Here.
Mayor Stodler.
Here. Let me call on Vice Mayor Kathy Webb for our invocation, please.
Thank you. Will you please bow your heads with me? We seek blessings as we begin work tonight on the task before us. May we deliberate with wisdom and clear minds. Guide our words that they promote goodwill and the common good, regardless of disagreement on the issues. We ask blessings on all of our residents and all those gathered here and all who live here. Please keep our residents and those who protect them out of harm's way. May we have compassion for those displaced from their homes, whatever the reason, and for all who are suffering. We're grateful for the freedom to assemble to do the work of the people. Amen.
Amen. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get into the agenda, we have a presentation tonight to recognize the retirement of one of our longtime, hardworking, loyal detectives, Detective Tommy Hudson. Bruce, if you would, please.
Thank you, members, Mayor, members of the board. Again, very bittersweet. We have recognizing an individual who's worked with the city for 31 years. Awards and honors include Medal of Merit, 3 commendation medals, the David Barnett Award for the 6th Judicial District Prosecuting Attorney's Office. He was Officer of the Month for 5 times, and numerous commendation letters from supervisors and citizens. Tommy says his favorite memory of working for the city is working on the homicide unit and solving cases for the victims and their families. Plans for retirement include going on cruises and to the beach as much as possible. And he's also interested in consulting with other police departments regarding their open, unsolved cold case homicides. As most of y'all know, Tommy's wife retired a few years before him, so the detective, Linda Hudson, so I think they're looking forward to spending a lot of quality time together. At this time, I'm going to ask Chief Buckner to come up and say a few words. Chief.
Mayor, members of the board, I'm getting a little bit of seniority here. June will be 3 years for me, and normally I come up here and I read because I vaguely know some of the people who are retiring, but I'm starting to know some of the folks. Tommy is actually one of those that I've had some intimate contact with, and I've seen his work. He was a great detective that we had, which was a huge loss for us in our homicide. You know that experience is very, very important in that unit. So that was certainly a blow to us, but we certainly wish him well. And then on also kind of a personal and professional note, his involvement with the FOP. You know, as a chief, the relationship that you have with an FOP can either be good or it will be bad. And I've been very, very fortunate that I've had a great relationship with our FOP. We haven't agreed on everything, but we have a workable relationship. And if I had to describe them in one word, I would say that they are reasonable. And I greatly appreciate that. Tommy filed 4 or 5 grievances on me while he was president of the FOP, and I think he was 4-0 on the ones that he filed. But I harbor no bad feelings for that. There were slight missteps on the contract, but I am going to miss him, and I greatly appreciate his work and his commitment to our city.
Tommy, on behalf of the city of Little Rock, thank you for 31 years of dedicated service. You've made a tremendous difference in the lives of families in our city, and we're forever be grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
usually, I'm not a man short of words, but I am a little bit here. I appreciate everything that the city's done for me. 31 years is a long time. You know, you work with the people that I worked with. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. The men and women of the Little Rock Police Department, from the patrol officer to the secretarial staff to our crime scene techs to the chiefs, captains, I'll miss them. I'll miss them tremendously. But you gotta know when it's time. I knew it was time, and I'm gonna go play now. So I appreciate the honor.
Mayor,
Yes, Tom?
I just wanted
You're
to
gonna
say,
attack me right now?
no, I'm just going to tell you that I've worked with you for the entire 25 years I've been city attorney. We have had numerous cases where your investigation and that of your wife, which on a television show they called her the mean one, were invaluable not only to helping the city with its case, but helping justice be done. But I think it would be totally inappropriate for you to leave and let anybody think that you have retired, because you had a bust the other day that I think the board would like to hear about, when the guy sent you the message about where they were going to.
Yeah, well, some of our informants haven't got the notice that I retired, and so they decided to text me the other day about some weed they were delivering, and I was like, "Sorry, dude, I'm out, but I'll pass it on to the appropriate people," and I did. So the word's getting out that I'm retired. Thank you, Tom.
The
Thank
streets
y'all.
know, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Tommy, thank you so much, and best of luck to you and your future endeavors. Please don't be a stranger. Come back to City Hall and visit us often if you would.
All right. Thank y'all.
Director Adcock, yes, you were recognized.
Tommy, I want to invite you to go on a ride with me through John Barrow, because 24 years ago, I rode with you through John Barrow, and you taught me a lot that I know and remember today. And I'd like to take you on a ride through John Barrow.
The short story is, I was in patrol, was that 24, 25 years ago, and she decided she wanted to ride, and I said, okay, I'll give you a ride, and we went to a shooting. And she didn't think those cars would break 100 on Barrow, and I showed her that it would. She prayed really hard, but we made it through it. You're here, so.
Yes, we did. Uh-huh. But I think that you are a great person, and I think that you have taught all of us a lot.
I appreciate that, Ms. Hancock.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Good luck.
Did you know you could go 100 through Barrow?
Okay, we can now turn our attention to the agenda, if we could, please. And there is a request for an addition of the M1 resolution, if you'd look at that. And let me ask for a motion.
Move to have the modification M1.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to add the M1 resolution to our agenda. Is there any objection to putting it on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and read that as part of the consent agenda. Yes, Mr. Moore?
And Mayor, it was inadvertently left off, but we do need a legislative briefing at the end of the meeting today, too.
Okay, very good. We'll put that on our agenda. Thank you. Okay, we can now go through the consent agenda, items 1 through 7, including resolution M1, please. Madam Clerk?
The consent agenda consists of a motion to approve the minutes of the November 15th, 2016 Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into agreement with SHI International in an amount not to exceed $228,803 to provide web-based fire and EMS incident reporting and records management for the Little Rock Fire Department and for other purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into agreement with Arkansas Automatic Sprinkler Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $146,358 for a fire protection system for the Information Technology Department building and for other purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into an annual purchasing order with MHC Kenworth for heavy-duty truck brake parts in an amount not to exceed $80,000 to authorize a one-year renewal for up to years of this agreement and for other purposes. A resolution to appropriate $1,364,591 from the city's 3/8 cent capital sales and compensating use tax proceeds to the Central Arkansas Technology Park Authority and for other purposes. A resolution authorizes a grant from the Pulaski Area Geographic Information System, PAGES, for stormwater map data development and for the purposes. A resolution to accept title to property donated to the city of Little Rock, Arkansas by warranty deed to be used for neighborhood revitalization programs and for the purposes. A resolution to approve an estoppel agreement between the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, JAPB LLC, doing business as Rock City Yacht Club, and First Service Bank to accommodate a financing agreement for the development of the marina on the Arkansas River and for the purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
Move for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The consent agenda is passed. We can now move on to the grouped items. We have ordinances 8 and 9, please. First reading.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Fitz Auto Expansion, long form PCD, located at 8421 Stagecoach Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, and reclassifying property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural, fire, and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. First reading.
For the motion to read the second reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Fitz Auto Expansion, long form PCD, located at 8421 Stagecoach Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, and reclassifying property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural, fire, and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency. Second reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Fitz Auto Expansion, long form PCD, located at 8421 Stagecoach Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, and reclassifying property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural, fire, and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
Okay, Director Wyrick, you have a question, please, or a
Thank you.
comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I received a phone call on item 9, 2600 Gaines Home. Received a phone call and an email. Can I have some details on where we've been with this 2600 Gaines?
Are you requesting detail? I've got several cards on it as well.
Okay. I didn't know if you did or not.
Yeah, I've got several cards.
Okay, well, then I'll wait for those people to come and tell us
Okay,
about them.
okay.
Thank
Director
you.
Adcock, are you on the same issue? All right, let me go ahead and ask the people who've asked to speak on this to, let me call on you first. I believe the owner of the property, perhaps Sandra Harris? Ms. Harris, are you the owner of the property?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead, please.
We've been in that house for about 30 years, and we had a little fire on the upstairs. And the fire department totally gutted the whole house, and with water and everything. And it's been about 3 years. We've been, whatever the city would tell us to do, we would try to do it and keep it as clean as we could. And board up, screw up all the windows and keep it safe. And we continuously would come around and always try to make it secure the best that we could. All right. Now we have the sign from the rehabilitation that they're saying they were going to condemn, they were going to tear it down. And that house is such an old house, and it's still in good shape. and we were needing for it to be rehabbed more than anything else. We're not able right now, but if we were wanting a 30-day on it for somebody to come and, and take on the responsibility of rehabbing it and everything.
All right, thank you, Ms. Harris. So you're, as an owner, you're requesting 30 days
Yeah, so we could
to do what?
to get a buyer
To look
buy
for a
the house.
purchaser?
Uh-huh.
I see.
See, we put on it, for sale by owner and everything, and, we hadn't got any, people's been, they come and they look at it, but, they haven't been able to. But right now, I would not want it to be torn down. I want it to take time out, to fix it up. I went to all the programs to try to get some kind of loan or some type of grant that would fix it up. But see, since we're across Roosevelt, we don't get any help to fix up these places. And so that's what I was wanting.
Oh, all right, thank you. Let me call on Tony Curtis, please.
Mayor, City Board, I'm going to pass around some information. Okay, thank you. Good evening. I was showing property yesterday on State Street, and a homeowner, the potential, said, I'd like to buy a couple of houses in the neighborhood and work on the block. And I said, well, the boarded up one around the corner belongs to the Harrises. I said, I can call them. So I called Mrs. Harris. We went around and we looked at the property. And she said, well, I have to go to the city board tomorrow night because it's up for condemnation and they're going to tear it down. And I said, well, let me call the city. Oh, wait, it's a holiday. I can't. So, I've had about 12 hours to work on things. And I went through the Charles Thompson plans that are at the old State House. And what you've got there is a side-by-side comparison to one of the numerous Charles Thompson cottages. I believe, even though that one's slightly altered, there are many, there's 8,000 something images, and I didn't have enough time to go through them, but I'm pretty sure it's a Charles Thompson plan. Charles Thompson built several houses that were on Arch and south of Roosevelt. Automatically, because it's 50 years old, it will qualify for a 10% tax credit. So if you look at the house, the Harrises are asking $15,000. You put 100 in it, you're at 115. Time you do the 10%, you're down to 105,000. Where else can you get a 1,700 square foot house for $105,000? Time it's rehabbed. Because structurally and architecturally, it's all there. I think I can sell. Of course, I'll do it for free for the Harrises because I strongly believe that the house can be saved. And most of the damage was caused really by the fire department coming in and tearing it apart, trying to make sure that there wasn't more damage going on. And I'm sorry to come to you at the very last moment, but I think, I've got several people looking. I just, 12 hours, I couldn't do a whole lot.
Mayor, can I ask him a question?
Yes, go ahead, Director
Got all the
Wyrick.
mics on.
Your
Maybe
mic is
not.
on.
Oh, okay, so I'm ready to go. Mr. Curtis, I received a phone call today that you were interested in rehabbing this home, and when you say you'll do it for free, what is your game there?
Well, the person that called you thought I wanted to buy it, and she misunderstood. There were two different buyers that came to look at the property, one and one today. She thought I was in real estate and thought I bought properties and rehabbed them. And she called and told me she had spoken to you. I said, well, it's not exactly right story, but I would not charge them a commission to sell the property.
Oh, I
I'll
see.
just find them a buyer for free,
Tony's a realtor, so he would.
Okay.
just to get it done for them.
Okay, so you wouldn't do the rehab?
No.
Okay. So you don't have a buyer then?
No, we have two different people looking at it. One looked yesterday with the Harrises, and then one came late this afternoon at 5 o'clock when I left to get ready to come here. And I left him with the Harrises. And he does do tax credit projects. He lives in the governor's mansion just a few blocks away, and so he's familiar with how it all works.
So what would 30 days, where would that get you in the project?
Well, it gives the buyer a little time to come in and get their estimates that they need. It'll take 7 to 10 days for a title company to pull title work. So there's things that have to go on that can't happen overnight. So I need at least 30 days, even with the line of credit, to get it closed.
The 10% tax credit does that take a while to?
No, that can be done afterwards, and that's just an incentive on a buyer. All that takes place after the property is placed back in service.
Okay, all right, thank you.
What is your point of order?
Well, she stopped talking, but Tom is not the flag, he's not the owner.
Well, I think everybody knows that.
No, I don't know, but I mean, the way that she's asking him questions, I think, turn the microphone on.
Well, we're in questions, and there are people in front of you, so if you want to comment, I'll be happy to recognize you, but Director Adcock is next, please.
No, but I wanted Tom to address this attorney.
What is the question to, what is,
Question for Tom.
what is the question to council then as a point of order?
I have a question for him.
What is the question to Mr. Carpenter?
Thank you for
as a
turning my
point
mic
of order?
on. My mic, what I was saying is that the questions that were being asked of Tony, he's not the owner.
Well, I think everybody knows that.
No, everybody doesn't know that.
Everybody on the board knows that.
Everybody on the board, but it's inappropriate. And I'm not gonna sit here and listen at it,
Well,
okay?
then, if you would like to
I'm not
excuse
going
yourself.
anywhere.
Oh, well, I'm going to give our directors an opportunity to ask the questions.
Well, let it be
We do that as a
appropriate.
courtesy to all of the board members.
Be appropriate.
Thank you. Director Adcock, you're next, please.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we take this one off the list for 30 days.
Second.
I've still got other cards that all wish to speak against taking it, against condemning it. So if that's the request of the owner of the property, I'll go ahead and recognize the motion in the second. All in favor of removing this property, I don't think we can just remove it for 30 days. We can remove it, and then if in fact, we can ask for a report in 30 days.
I have a question.
We can ask for, there's a motion on the floor and a second. And I'm going to take questions on it in just a second. So, but Mr. Carpenter, we can't just move it off for 30 days. Is that correct?
I think you can defer it for 30 days if that's what you wish to do. What I was trying to point out is that in March, we're really not going to have an agenda meeting on the 14th. So as much material as we can get, we are just be sending out Friday, and I think a report at the end of 30 days instead of this coming back in 30 days would be better, because otherwise you'd be getting the ordinance Friday and it would look like we're on the process of condemning it again.
Okay, does
I'd like to
everybody
amend my
understand that?
motion. I'd like to amend my motion for a report in 30 days.
All right, is there, the
What's
makers, is there a second to that?
What's a motion?
Okay. The motion is a motion to take this off the ordinance and to ask for a report on this property in 30 days. So, all right, Director Hendricks, questions on the motion?
The question is, if you explain that to me. In other words, if they come in here in 30 days and they don't have a plan, you're gonna extend that time?
No, if they don't have a plan, then we will have it be submitted to us for demolition.
Go on,
Director Hendricks, does that
call the
answer your
vote.
question? All right, there's a motion and a second. There are not any other questions on the motion. All in favor of the motion?
Let me add to my question. I don't know whether it would be a question, it would be an addendum to your motion, is that if this does not, I resent it because, number one, it's not in your ward. That
I have
house is
no
a
ward.
stone's throw from my house. I've been looking at that house for years. The people in the neighborhood, they're complaining. It's in my ward. And I'm being redundant, and it is a stone's throw from my house. And I'm not the one that really brought it to the board's attention or to the city staff's attention. It was the community. We have a mansion that's right across the alley from this house, and I think they had brought this to us again. And I think it's unfair, but 30 days with a printed program of what they're going to do to this house. There's no buyer. I talked to Mrs. Harris last night, but she's being edged to come here by other folk. Okay? She has no money to do that. I've known that woman for many, many years. She has no money to do that house. I know that. And what we had talked about, the two of us, is letting the house be demolished. And then if she comes into some money, she would pay the city for having demolished that house and get the lot back. That's my question. And if I have to take this to court, I will do that. I'm tired of being people just walking over folk. Thank you.
Very well. I will take Director Hendricks' comments as a vote, asking you to vote against the motion to take it off. So, here we are. There's been a motion and a second. Ms. Harris, did you want to?
Okay. It's not about, like I told her, if it had to come to that, they'd have to tear it down. They'd have to tear it down. See, that put us in a catch-22 situation. I would not want it to be torn down. I lived in that house before the back of the windows got blowed out by the fire department, you know. And we've been having problems with that because everybody sees that big house and they see all the neighborhood and everybody knows us in that neighborhood. And they automatically think that we want it torn down, but we really don't want, we just we got ourselves in a predicament where we would want it to be torn down, but if we couldn't do nothing else, if we couldn't get it rehabbed. But I would like for it to be fixed.
Very
you
good,
know.
Ms. Harris. We understand what your position
want it to
is
be fixed.
and that you haven't been talked into coming here tonight.
No, I have not been talked to be coming.
thank you.
I always wanted it to be rehabbed.
Very good. Okay, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to take this off the ordinance and to ask for a report in 30 days indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, so that will be taken as an amendment to the ordinance. We've had 3 readings of the ordinances. All in favor of the passage of ordinance number 8 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed, and all in favor of passage of the ordinance as amended on ordinance number 9.
I never got to speak on number 9. I filled out a card and I turned it in.
Are you Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's been taken off the ordinance. You wanted to speak against the condemnation, so it's been taken
No,
off.
but I have a different property. I'm not talking about the property you guys have been
Oh,
talking about.
excuse me. I'm sorry, Mr. Walker. I apologize for that. All right, excuse me. We're not quite finished yet. All right, the ordinance has been amended once. Mr. Walker, yes, I'm sorry.
I'm speaking about 2109 South Park Street.
Okay,
And I would be asking for, I guess, the similar relief to, but for a different reason. Mr. Anthony is the owner of the property at 2109. If you look at the tax assessor's website, but he has sold, he sold this property for basically what the city is going to charge him to tear it down to another person. He can get it demolished for much less money than that. However, he has a contract. The other party is in default, but he doesn't want to run afoul of the law and be sued by them. So he's just recently come and brought this to me, and I'm sure we can get it worked out within 30 days. But he's the record owner of the property, but he's entered into a sale agreement, which he did file with he filed it with the circuit court or the county clerk. So there is a record of that. There is a lease there. So he didn't want to.
there's a lease or there's a
Well,
purchase
it's a
agreement?
purchase agreement that's been filed with the city and, with the county. And what he hasn't been able to do is go on and have it demolished without making sure that the other side can't come back on him. But they have been in default and have not made payments recently. But I believe that we can get his issue worked out and settled within 30 days. And if not, then the city can just tear it down. But I think we can get it handled. By the time we come back, it will be worked out.
Mr. Walker, may I ask, are you an agent for the owner, or are you an attorney for the owner?
Yes, he's right here if you would like him to speak. He just asked me to do it. But this is Mr. Lee Anthony. He's a longtime resident of this city.
Well, we understand the request. Mr. Carpenter, from a standpoint of the city moving forward for a condemnation, The fact that there is a contract for the sale of this property, does that in any way impact?
Well, Mayor, under that U.S. Supreme Court case, Jones versus Flowers, we now have reasonable notice that there's another owner, so we couldn't tear it down now without notice to that owner anyway. And we would have to wait until we got that notice. So I think what I understand Mr. Walker is saying is he thinks that they can work it out so that the house will be demolished at Mr. Anthony's expense within 30 days. And that's what the report would be. If that's not done, then the city would give notice to Mr. Anthony and to the person that's listed on the document filed with the county, with the circuit clerk's office. And we'll go through the demolition process that way. And I understand Mr. Anthony's not going to resist that. So that would just require us to go a step further.
So, Mr. Walker, did you take care of the filing at the circuit clerk's office?
No, that was actually done prior to my becoming involved in this
I see.
matter.
And do you know what was filed precisely?
I believe that Mr. Anthony has a copy if I could present it.
If you just identify what it is,
It is a loan agreement and promissory note, and it was dated September 2015, and it was filed on the 9th of September in the year of 2015.
And it's for that particular piece of property?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Director Eckhart, you have a,
I was just going to ask staff if they had seen this.
Yeah, if I can ask a question, was Mr., it looks like Poindexter Hill, Allison Poindexter Hill, is that the end of it? Notice was given to him by the city on this demolition. So that changes things a little bit. I mean, the question now for the board is that you've got notice to both parties. And I think what's really being asked is, can I tear it down myself and save some money? And I want to get that done within 30 days. And what I would do, I think, to accomplish what he wants is to defer this provision of the ordinance for 30 days, the meeting the 21st, because we've already got notice to both parties. If it's torn down, then we don't need the ordinance. If it's not torn down, we've got notice on both parties and can move ahead.
well, how is this deferral any different than what we just did by removing the previous property?
In the previous property, they wanted it taken off the demolition list, which among other things would be essential to be able to sell it and to be able to get any kind of financing for repairing it, because I don't think any financial institution is going to finance the repair of a condemned house.
So you're suggesting that the motion would be to defer this particular piece of property from tonight's ordinance to an ordinance
30 days from now.
30
This-
days from now.
This happens to be the one time of the year when 30 days is actually a meeting. And then
30 days.
the report will be, it's been torn down or it hasn't. If it hasn't, then you can pass the ordinance and we can move forward with demolition.
So move.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, this property has been deferred from an ordinance, condemnation ordinance for 30 days. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Before I move on, let me just make sure that the other two parties who asked to speak on this item, the properties have been addressed. Mr. Dodds, do you wish to speak about?
About 2,600 games.
Okay, we've already taken it off, as you know. All right, go forward.
My name is Paul Dodds. I live at 2119 West 17th Street. My apologies for coming unshaved and dressed in blue jeans. I just heard about this potential demolition and rushed down here and went to see the house. I think that the 30 days is a good start, but it's not a solution. This is a structurally sound historic house. I was had the honor of being on the weed lot committee for 3 years. This is where weed lots come from. This is not where investment comes from. And I urge the city to be very careful in tearing down old houses and making more weed lots. It's the current ordinance allows for very discretionary tear downs of properties which are structurally sound. there needs to be a category created of uninhabitable houses which are safe, which I think that this house is. The rear porch probably needs to be torn down, but structurally, the rest of the house is safe. It is not an unsafe house. It's not inhabitable, but it's a house that needs, with protection and with a good owner, and the Harrises are very interested in finding a new owner. This could be a gem. It could be a stabilizing force in the neighborhood. It's on a corner. It's a house for someone to love and fix up. But if it's a vacant lot, nothing will happen. If you look around, I live in a neighborhood where there's been almost no new construction for 50 years except for subsidized housing. There's a lot of vacant lots and there's a lot of renovated houses. And if those houses weren't there, they wouldn't be there. So I think that the city needs to rethink what it really calls unsafe and come up with a different policy. So 30 days is okay. It's not good enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodds. Do you have a question for Mr. Dodds? Well, I'll recognize you. I got one more card. Let me ask if Joan Coleman is here. Ms. Coleman, do you wish to speak?
Yes.
Please, come forward.
Okay, I'm hearing all this 30 days. I want to tear my own house down. It's going to take me a little time.
Which is your house now?
4400 West 10th Street.
Okay.
I'm going to need some time on my house. More than 30 days.
To do what?
Tear it down or whatever I decide to do with it.
Well, that is, so you're requesting of the Board of Directors to give you, to take this off the ordinance and give you an opportunity more than 30 days to tear this property down.
Yes.
And how many days do you think it would take for you to tear it down?
At least 4 to 5 months.
4 to 5 months? Okay. Are there any questions for Ms. Coleman? Thank you, Ms. Coleman.
Thank you.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
I really wanted to make a comment to let him, Tom, know that I got this same letter that you received. And I just wish that these people would come to us ahead of time before houses get into shape. And the thing that bothers me is that you don't see these houses in white neighborhoods. And I will say it until I die. But, you know, over in the black neighborhood, it's okay. You do what you please. That's all I got to say.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Moore, would it be possible to amend our ordinance so that we take into account whether or not the structure is sound before we tear these down? Because like he said, all we're doing is creating weed lots that we then have to maintain with our weed lot crew. Or do you think our ordinance accommodates that?
The one thing I'll say, and I think it's about 5 years ago, we really developed a new process. I mean, we are working with these owners. We're asking for a plan. We're asking, what are you going to do? And it's not until they get this notice to come down here on the 21st that, well, now we got 30 more days. And so I assure you, I mean, we try to save houses that we feel like can be saved. But when you're working with individuals who, I mean, you heard one of the first owners say, I don't have the ability to do this. And so I think our process is a good one. In fact, if you can remember when we used to do these, we'd have 10 people down here, and we've gotten a lot better. Mm-hmm. But our staff is compassionate, and we will try to work. But it's usually not until you get the notice to come down here that you start hearing from them.
Okay, thank you.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
I wanted to support Mr. Our city manager and also the staff, because Mrs. Harris had talked to the staff and Ed had given them all, Mr. Gardner, had given them all the time that because she has no money, her husband's critically ill, the children are not of any help to her. And I just think, I agree with Mr. Moore. It's awful that we sit here and change things that he has done. It says to me that you're saying to Bruce that he's not doing his job. And I'll say that until I die.
Okay, that takes care of individuals who wish to speak on ordinance number 9 as amended, as well as discussion by city board members. All in favor of the passage of ordinance 9 as amended, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. And on the emergency clause, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The emergency clause is also passed. So, Mrs. Coleman, if you're still with us, she leave? If she tears it down before we get it torn down, we'll be happy. Okay. The next item is item 10, a public hearing. Let me go ahead and open up the public hearing and ask for the first reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multi-Improvement District Number 2017-324, Canis Ridge Estates Project and for other purposes. First reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place the ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
Who seconded that?
Second.
Oh, okay. Thank you. An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multi-Improvement District Number 2017-324, second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multi-Improvement District Number 2017-324, third and final reading.
Very good. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak either for or against this ordinance? Anyone who wishes to speak either for or against this ordinance? Seeing none, let me go ahead and close the public hearing and ask for a vote. All in favor of the passage of ordinance number 10 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is also passed. We now move on to that portion of our agenda that deals with citizen communication, and we've got some cards on citizen communication. Let me deal with this first issue. Citizen communication is an opportunity to provide 3 minutes on a specific item that's not been on our agenda, that's not already been addressed to the board. I have 5 cards on the issue of an impact study on the issue of the school closures, which was dealt with fairly extensively, as I recall, 2 weeks ago. The issue of an impact study and the citizens who have made comments about asking the city to do an impact study has been heard by this board. And I don't believe that, based on our rules, that we are in a position to hear these items again and again and again. I am very sympathetic about the issue, understanding that we do not want schools closed. We do not want shuttered schools. That's not good for the neighborhood. I think we probably know what an impact study would indicate as it relates to that. I will tell you that Superintendent Poore, who has been in communication with the city manager's office, and he's been in communication, I think, with several board members as well as the mayor, has indicated a desire to find uses for these schools and has offered to come and make a presentation to the board next Tuesday at our agenda meeting. And we are going to be scheduling him for that. So unless there's a motion to suspend the rules of the chair as it relates to having already heard an item, I don't think it's permissible for me to recognize you on this issue again a second time. We have been sued on this issue, by the way. We're currently in litigation on the issue, and so I'm trying to be consistent with what we've done in other instances about the forum. I hope that's understandable. Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead, Director Webb. There we go. Yes, Vice Mayor Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think as a point of clarification, maybe not everybody on the board is aware, but I was the person who asked that we draft this impact study. And in working with some of my friends who are working very hard on the school closure issue, in discussing it with one of them, she asked me to pull it from the agenda, which is why it was pulled several weeks ago. It was at her request. And I think that helps with some clarification. And then, as you mentioned, we are going to hear from Superintendent Poore next week, which is, I think, very critical for everybody on the board to hear from him. But for those who didn't know, that's why the impact study was pulled from discussion last Tuesday.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Vice Mayor Webb, thank you so much for that explanation, because I was going to ask that why that was never brought before us. I did get a letter from one of my constituents, and who was very concerned, and she was asking us to pass a resolution. And I shared with her that nothing that we pass here has any bearing to the state. They don't have to acknowledge anything. And I shared with her that her best course of action would be to approach the state elected representatives for the area. Also, as well, I was informed by the superintendent that Wilson will be repurposed. I would rather not have an alternative school, but I already have an alternative school. So where it is irrelevant. It's already there. The plan that they shared with me indicated that Hamilton would be utilized in an appropriate manner as a school because it is in newer condition and better condition than Wilson. So in Ward 6, the schools will not be shuttered. They will not be boarded up. They will not be turned into charter schools. So there is a plan for us. Regarding the other issues, I understand the frustration with not feeling like you have a voice, but this board has no authority, and I think that needs to be made clear. Thank you.
All right, any other comments by any other directors? All right, well, I would invite you to come and listen to Superintendent Poore when he comes to make a presentation on next Tuesday. Thank you. The next card I have is from Timothy Anderson concerning a Little Rock Police Foundation.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Timothy Anderson, and with me is Kathleen McDonald. She's on the newly formed Little Rock Police Foundation Board, and I thought I'd let this chief start out.
Okay. And I don't even think they know this. I met both of these individuals at two different times, but both of them were board members. Tim's our chair. When I first arrived to Little Rock, Tim came to my office. We had a good conversation, and he said, if there's anything that I can do to help you, please let me know. So I put that in the mental Rolodex. I did a speech at Rotary 99 one day. And Ms. McDonald came up to me after that and said the exact same thing. We started a police foundation because it's a part of being a progressive police agency. Most larger agencies across the country have one. We didn't have one here when I arrived, and I felt like that there was something that could certainly help us. Purpose of the foundation is to be able to do some of the smaller things that maybe that we don't have as much money as we would like to do those things, or to do some additional things in those avenues, specifically with community outreach, youth initiatives, our animals with canine and mounted patrol, and then also some of the things with smaller equipment. For example, let's say like a Segway or bicycles or something to do more community-oriented policing and have the foundation fill in some of those gaps. I don't know how many members are on the board yet. It's kind of an evolving number.
About a dozen.
About a dozen folks are on our board right now. And we also have what's a friend raiser, which is basically just a public announcement to officially announce that the foundation exists, coming up on March the 2nd at 6 p.m.
At 5:30.
5:30, at 5:30 p.m. You all are formally invited to that, to attend that. This is something that we're very, very proud of for our police agency, and looking forward to the foundation being fruitful and helping us grow our footprint in the city. I'm sorry?
Director Hendricks, if you'd hit
What's
your
the
microphone,
address,
please.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, it's at the River Market in the Bill Clark Room in the River Market, which is right above the new Davis Burgers. And I'd be happy to, you're welcome.
Mr. Anderson, you might, for the public that may be watching, do you want to give the address of where this friend raiser is going to be,
Yeah,
please?
I'm sorry. I wanted the chief to go because we've been working on this for almost 18 months, and the address is going to be in the River Market, in upstairs above Dave's Burgers, which is in where the the Bill Clark Room is what I call it. Thank you, Director Peck. It's going to be upstairs in the Bill and Margaret Clark Room at 5:30 on March 2nd.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Director Adcock has a
Yes,
question.
would you tell us about your membership and how does a person become associated with your group?
Well, that's a great question, Director Adcock. What I talked to the chief about over 18 months ago, we put together the board of directors for the Little Rock Police Foundation, and I have gone around the city and put together people from all walks, all races, all creeds. We've got college professors, we've got lawyers, I'm a financial consultant, so from all areas of life, and we've got them together, and there's a lot of smart people, and I can't wait for you all to meet them, and I hope that you'll come on March 2nd to our friend raiser, and you can meet all of them.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that everyone got our email.
I think everybody did, Tim. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Great idea. Thank you.
Okay, I've got two other cards. Carolyn Voiles.
Can Cameron go first, please?
I have Cameron Taylor also on the same issue called shoeing. I'm not sure what that is, but Cameron, if you come forward, please.
Go ahead.
And if you'll put that microphone down, there we go, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Cameron from Share the Love with Cameron. I want to let everyone know why I am so mad at our city. Well, I am here to say no shoeing because you agreed to work with us to find help for those you want to displace from their camps. So basically by saying they will shoo them away by using ambassadors, they are saying sweep homelessness out of the sight of visitors to our city and residents who are the 1% who won't tolerate homelessness in downtown Little Rock. What happened to them working to find solutions? This only benefits them, not our 99% homeless. These homeless have names and we must be their voice if the city won't listen. What viable way do you have for the homeless to raise money if you are shooing them away? The money they raise that goes to be used for nights in a shelter, for hygiene products, or for food, who will be their voice, their ambassador. Me and the many other outreach teams, we will continue our mission if you won't work together with us to find solutions.
This is an issue that we dealt with as well last 2 weeks ago. So now that I know what shoeing is, thank you very much. We understand that, and I know that our city staff has been meeting with some of the outreach coordinators and with several of the people. I think there's been several meetings between now and the last 2 weeks.
We've heard nothing from any of the outreach.
Well, I'm not sure whether, Mr. Moore, do you want to elaborate on the meetings that have been conducted? I know you've had our assistant city manager involved.
We have, Mayor, members of the board, as as everyone knows, this is not a easy issue. If it was, we would have figured it out a long time ago. And I want to reiterate this, and I think sometimes this gets lost in the discussion, is that, we're not out proactively looking for these camps. The majority of the ways we encounter them are through complaints. It's property owners, it's citizens that live in the neighborhood, they're business owners. And so it is a balance. With the change at the Salvation Army, that's impacted us tremendously. But I'm confident that we're going to handle this in a very compassionate way. We want to work with the various groups. We met with an individual, one of the leading individuals today, for about an hour and a half. So we don't have the answer yet, but we're going to continue to try to look at best practices, what other cities are doing in dealing with this very tough issue. We know that no matter what you do, no matter what you provide, there are individuals that will not go into a shelter at all. And a lot of them they don't want to be together. They want to be separate. And so,
PTSD or whatever they suffer
yeah.
from.
Their drug and alcohol issues, their pet issues, So, but we're continuing to work on it.
Okay, well, I had a couple questions and suggestions. That's why I asked if he could go first.
Well, it would be best, Ms. Voiles, if you would direct those to staff so that they can answer your questions. I mean, we recognize the issue, we're sensitive to the issue, we want to try and help our citizens that are vulnerable. Are they questions for staff that you have?
I guess they would be, one of the questions was about money as far as putting out boxes. One of the boxes is on Broadway next to McDonald's. It says for the homeless. It's like a parking meter box. Is there a place that we could set up boxes to drop gift cards in for our homeless, or money for the shelter for the night in front of a shelter, leave a check or a money donation for them, because they have to, after 10 nights mostly, they have to pay for shelter.
Again, if you will get with with staff, with Mr. James Jones, there are a variety of issues as it relates to trying to set up independent boxes like that, and we don't just let that happen willy-nilly, so.
Right,
Okay.
correct.
All right, thank you. Director
Who would
Hendrick,
I speak to, and how would we go about meeting with them?
just to set up an appointment. You can get Mr. Jones's name and phone number, and we'll be happy to
Okay.
have him follow up with you directly.
Okay, yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Director Hendricks.
I was going to say to Mr. Moore, I think that we're doing something. We have the facility out at Granite Mountain. So these people cannot expect the city to do all of this. It's just so much we can do. And I don't think we need to sit here and say to Mr. Moore, what are you doing? I think he's doing a darn good job.
Very good.
I don't know whether he listens to me, but I get on him sometimes. But I think you're doing a good job, and so I don't expect you to do any more than what you're doing for the homeless. And you're doing a hell of
Director Wright.
I was just going to acknowledge, Mayor, a letter from the Homeless Coalition with that in it had an invitation for this, excuse me.
Go ahead, please.
I was just acknowledging a letter from the Homeless Coalition, that in that letter, there was an invitation for us to have a city staff person attend and collaborate with them on solutions, so perhaps that will address the last speaker's concerns. Okay, thank you.
Director Hendricks, did you have anything else?
just leave Mr. Moore.
All right, Dr. Whitfield has given me a card about silencing citizens. Obviously, that is not an issue that we've addressed before, other than we've talked about what our rules of citizen communication are. But I'll give you the opportunity, Dr. Whitfield, to indicate for 3 minutes anyway, what you would
Yes.
like, please.
Thank you so much, Mayor. To all the city board directors, I'm very disappointed that we were asked to not speak about something that's so heartfelt to all of us. And I heard that Ms. Wright, with all due respect, in order to bring a school into a change like Metropolitan over to Wilson, I'm sorry, Hamilton over into Wilson. Hamilton is a high school and junior high school. That's an elementary school. And in order to do that, they'll have to re-outfit all of the bathrooms, all of the chairs, all of the tables. And so there's a lot of money that would be into those expenditures. And so we've never gotten an answer as to how they can afford to do that, but not keep those schools open. And you might not be aware, but there's an SB 308 bill that's coming out that they're going to vote on. And that bill is about putting charter schools in public schools. And so what we are asking the city to do is consider, we don't understand why we can't speak, but you're going to have Mr. Poor, who you're saying the city directors have no bearing on what decisions are made from the Little Rock School District or from the state, but you're going to have Mr. Poor come next week and speak. So why can't the citizens speak if he's coming?
Dr. Whitfield, and you were here 2 weeks ago, and you understand that was not an issue on the agenda. We recognize many, many people to speak on this issue. The issue that you made a very sincere request on, and we respect that, had to do with the city conducting an impact study.
Right.
There, as Vice Mayor Webb had just indicated, there was a resolution that was prepared, and some of the advocates that are
Not some.
Well, I'll let
Director
I'll
Webb
let
said
Vice
that-
Mayor Webb speak, but she was asked by someone who was a part of this coalition of saving our schools to pull that resolution. Now, if that resolution should get back on our agenda, then we will discuss it, debate it. We'll hear from everybody that wants to hear from it. Okay, we understand that. We have not heard from Mr. Poor. We are as concerned as you are about the use of these schools and what's going to happen to the neighborhoods surrounding them, recognizing that this board does not have any control, not any financial control, no legal control over those issues. We can make our voices heard. I have spoken out about this issue publicly. I know many of these board members have spoken out about this issue publicly. So we're just as interested in you and the rest of the group about what is going to happen with these schools. That's why
But I think that you all,
Superintendent Poor is being asked to come and talk to us.
but I think that the city has much more power than you're allowing yourselves to say that you have. I mean, you're the mayor, vice mayor, city manager. These schools rest in the city of Little Rock, not just in the state of Arkansas as a whole, but in the city of Little Rock. And regardless to what the governor comes up with, regardless to what the legislators come up with, if the city board of Little Rock says that they don't want to see certain things happening in our city, then you guys have the power to do that. And so many of the people that sit on this board went to the Little Rock School District, and how dare you allow this to happen to our city schools? If this was any of your children's schools, you wouldn't be allowing it to happen. So I don't understand why we're sitting so silently on this, and I don't understand why the citizens are asked to be silent about something that doesn't need to be silenced.
Very good. Well, we've spoken out publicly, I've spoken out publicly, and will continue to do so. So I'm as interested, and I know these board members are just as interested in their neighborhoods as you are.
Yeah, and I just want to publicly thank BJ Wyrick for coming forward and saying, when I sent out the first email, she was the only city director that responded immediately to myself and to city manager, and I want to publicly thank you for that, BJ. Thank you.
Director Wright, did you have a comment?
I was just going to ask our city manager, or city attorney, what power do we have with regards to decisions that the state of Arkansas makes? I just need our citizens that are listening, watching this live, to truly understand, because I think it just seems like people are being told that we can make somebody change their mind about something. And I just do not believe that that is the case. There are state elected representatives, there's state senators that represent these areas. These people are colleagues and the boss of these people that are making these decisions. We are not. Am I incorrect in that? Or I need to understand if there's something else I can do to get Mr. Johnny Key to change his mind, then I'm willing to do that.
No, you're correct.
Will you state that a little bit more plainly, Mr. Carpenter, so that my constituents that are listening to this or and watching will understand?
The city really doesn't have any authority to demand that the state do anything by law. We're a creature of the state. 34 years ago, I learned changing somebody's mind was never going to happen again in my life, and so that's just something that's that way.
And the role of our state senators and our state representatives that are
They're the
colleagues?
representatives of the people. The people are always free to talk to them. They have email addresses and other addresses, and they will talk to people and say that. I think the argument that was being made is that essentially the board could take a bully pulpit, they refer to it with Theodore Roosevelt, and that may be true, but the problem is it's just a pulpit, and you're not going to make somebody perfect because you told them what you thought.
Thank you.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
I would just like to say to Dr. Whitfield is that I think you know who I am. And I think all of you know what position I take and the political party that I represent. I have talked to persons, but I'm like Director Wright, we have nothing to do with that. And to throw the flowers at BJ, that's good, but I have talked to people, to Republicans. They're going to do what they want to do. Forget, we're still somewhere there's a problem with race and all that other stuff. And we got to admit that. That is a racial problem. Okay?
Vice Mayor Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think, what Tom said is a very good point, but regardless of whether or not we have an authority, I think most everybody on this board has been very involved and very outspoken, and Director Wyrick and I served for a year on that civic advisory panel. I've met with the governor numerous times, starting when the state took over and then when Baker got fired, and a number of people on this board have spoken at many of the rallies, and we continue to try to use this as a platform, although we have no authority to change their minds. That doesn't mean some of us haven't given it 100% to try to do that.
And I would echo that. Certainly, when the change was made in superintendents, when the decision of even taking over the school board was made, there were many of us that felt that was not the right decision based on the number of schools that were put in jeopardy. That was a state issue. We made those issues known. When the issue first came up, I will tell you that I was immediately on the phone to Superintendent Poore and expressed my concern about Franklin School and how important Franklin School was to that neighborhood and to some of the community interests that we have there, our Oak Forest Community Garden and a variety of other things, the UALR baseball team that's got millions of dollars invested in it that's adjacent to Franklin School, and indicated to him that the last thing in the world I wanted to see was a shuttered school. I'm waiting with a lot of concern to find out exactly what the school district plans to do. There may be a time in the future where we have some ability to talk about, certainly to talk about this more as the process of figuring out what the school district is doing. But the fact that the state took it over and not a lot of attention is made to the fact, unfortunately, that we are a creature of the state. And we oftentimes are unfortunately exempted from local control that we would otherwise prefer to have. That happens out of the legislature every time we have a session, and it's happening right now on a variety of things which we're not too happy about. So I hope the fact that we've had discussion on this in this board, that individuals have spoken out about it, is a reflection of the fact that the city board is very interested in what happens to our schools and to our neighborhoods. Director Peck, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I'd just like to echo a little bit of what the mayor and Vice Mayor Webb has said. Our hands are tied in so many ways. That certainly does not mean that we're not compassionate and have not spoken out and have fought and worked for the Little Rock School District. Many of us here are the products of the Little Rock schools. Kathy and I are Hall High alums, very active in that association. I think one reason we invited Michael Poor is to find out what are the plans. We don't want to see these schools turn into charter schools. I think you've got to acknowledge what our city attorney is saying. When the state took over the school district, we lost a lot of power. Three of the schools from the distress list have been removed from the list. We're making progress, but don't just write us off as being not caring or not compassionate, because that is absolutely wrong. You don't know me, and you don't know a lot of these people if you say that.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in, a legislative update. All right, let me hold off on that, please. Emily Cox, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. I wanted to update you on our agenda and some of the items in the Municipal League's agenda that are of interest, and then also other bills that would impact cities. And of course, take any questions you have at the end. So first, in regards to our agenda, House Bill 1220 updates the purchasing process by permitting electronic bids in addition to other existing methods of submission. And that bill has passed both chambers, and it's now Act 170. House Bill 1467 allows for different addresses of record to be used when sending notices to property owners for code violations, and that bill has passed the House, so it's now in the Senate City, County, and Local Affairs Committee. And Senate Bill 43 clarifies the instances in which the city is able to file a civil suit against a property owner in cases of criminal abatement, and that bill is in the Senate Judiciary Committee. And so those are our bills. And then in terms of a couple of the Municipal League bills that are of interest, Senate Bill 253 by Senator Sample is the Historical Rehabilitation Income Tax Credit Bill, and that increases the per project amount of rehabilitation expenses that would qualify for a tax credit. And that bill has passed the Senate, and it's now in the House Revenue and Tax Committee. It's been amended a couple of times. They've gone back and forth on the date that it would be effective, and now they're saying it would be effective in 2017 as opposed to 2018, so that's good. And then also the Municipal League has a goal to support a change in law concerning the discount that's available to taxpayers for prompt submission of sales tax returns and payments. And the Municipal League is looking for a sponsor for that bill. But I think it's safe to say that the focus is really on the online sales tax bills at this point. And there are two main bills about online sales tax. The first one is Senate Bill 140 by Senator Files, and it requires sales taxes to be imposed on large volume sellers that don't have a physical presence in the state. And there have been some questions about whether local sales taxes are included in that bill. And DFA, so the Department of Finance and Administration, the Bureau of Legislative Research, the bill sponsor, and the Municipal League are in agreement that the bill, as it's written, does cover local sales tax. And the DFA fiscal impact statement says, and I quote, "Under the provisions of the bill, state and local sales tax assessments against an out-of-state seller could begin following a favorable result from a declaratory judgment action brought by the state." And that bill passed the Senate with 23 votes, and it went to the House Revenue and Tax Committee where it was considered last week. And a member of the committee who's not the bill sponsor brought forward an amendment on how to spend the state revenue, and the amendment was not adopted, and so the bill did not get out of committee. I understand that the bill sponsor does intend to run the bill again. And the mayor and I have both spoken with Representative Sabin, who's the Little Rock legislator on that committee in the House Revenue and Tax.
I know. Can I let her finish?
And then House Bill 1388 is also about online sales, and it's a notice and reporting bill. It's not a collection bill. And it has passed the House with 54 votes, and it is in the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee. And I spoke to DFA's chief legal counsel about whether it applies to local sales taxes as it's written. And he told me a taxpayer or company that is located outside of the state of Arkansas will have a choice to register to collect and remit sales tax, or they can provide the notice that's outlined in the bill that's pretty cumbersome. And if a company registers to collect and remit sales and use tax, then both state and local sales and use taxes would be in play. And then, kind of on a related note, it was announced earlier this month that Amazon would voluntarily pay sales tax starting on March 1st. And so I reached out to DFA to ask how that will work. And their attorney told me, he first said, I cannot comment on an individual taxpayer, but what he could tell me is that if a taxpayer or company obtains a sales and use tax permit to collect and remit sales taxes in Arkansas, they don't just sign up for state sales tax. They collect both state and city and county sales taxes. So I wanted to share that with you. And then also DFA said that they provide a breakdown of the state and local sales taxes to companies. And if a company was only paying state sales and use tax, DFA would know it immediately. So I wanted to share that. And then other bills of interest, Senate Bill 14 to prohibit municipal sanctuary cities by Senator Stubblefield was on the deferred list today in the Senate City, County, and Local Affairs Committee agenda. And then House Bill 1151 would require that registered voters be notified by mail of the dates of certain special elections. That bill is in the House Committee on State Agencies and Government Affairs. And let's see, what else? There are a couple of annexation bills that are out there. House Bill 1335 directly affects enclave annexations. And then Senate Bill 138 by Senator Hickey from Texarkana creates a procedure for the revocation of a charter of a municipal corporation as a result of the municipal corporation's noncompliance with the law. And the bill sponsor came and spoke to the Municipal League's Executive Committee a few weeks ago. And the sponsor indicated that he was considering amendments. So I have not seen an amendment on that bill yet, and it was on the deferred list today in the Senate City, County, and Local Affairs Committee. Senate Bill 286 by Senator Hester is about, it's called, it prohibits cities and counties from denying or hindering private property owners the right to remove or trim trees, bushes, or shrubs. So it would impact our tree maintenance ordinances. And that bill did get out of the committee, and then it did not make it off of the Senate floor the next day. And the vote has been expunged, so it could come back before the Senate. And also House Bill 1549 by Representative Davis regarding municipal and non-municipal sewer service was also filed last week. And with that, and I just want to share, the bill filing deadline is March 6th. And of course, there'll always be amendments after that. And then it looks like recess will be April 7th, but.
Emily, if you would, the bill that was referenced, I think SB 308, relative to the, if you would give us a report on that.
Sure. I can tell you, I just checked it, and it is still it started in the Senate Education Committee, and it is still in the Senate Education Committee. And I'd be happy to research any further what the board may want to know about it.
Good. If you would just give us a little, you might just send a little memo to the board about it. And
Sure,
give us
I'll
an
include it in
update
my
on it.
update on Friday, if
All
that's
right.
okay.
Very good.
Okay, great.
I think there's a couple of questions about some of the bills. Let me see. Director Wright, you're next, please. Do you have a comment on any of these bills? Oh, she's gone. Director Compuris.
Emily, a simple question. On the three bills that you talked about collecting sales tax.
Two, but.
What?
Two bills, but yes,
Two
sir.
bills, well. Do each one of them provide, or is there a understanding that if city sales taxes are collected, that we're the recipient of it?
Yes.
Are you sure? I mean, I don't want a thing where they use our sales tax to take a tax,
So there,
use it as a way to do tax cuts for the for constituents
I
in
can
the
tell
state.
you, so there is a bill out there. It's Andy Davis, Representative Davis's bill, and I have the bill number right here. It's House Bill 1512, and it would reduce income tax rates based on the additional state revenue
Collection.
that
But-
comes
But
in.
I just want to make sure that, whatever they want to do with the state revenue, that's their business.
And,
It is the money that we need.
right.
And I
Just, you have to be alert that they don't take that money to offset cutting down.
And we will be alert to it. I have had a conversation with Representative Davis about that, and he has indicated to me that should his bill pass, that it only applies to state taxes, it doesn't apply to local taxes. Now,
That's my only worry.
my concern is that we are relying on DFNA legal counsel on the issue that Amazon and others will collect state and local use taxes. And we're relying on their professional recommendation that is in fact the way it's being interpreted and the way that the DFNA will insist on it being collected. And I guess I'm okay with that, although
Well, Mark?
I had drafted some language to have it amended to make sure that that's what would happen, and they have assured Emily and our staff that that's the way it's going to be collected, so.
Well, if you're worried about it, and we want to make sure, and Tom has often said that tax law is not his forte as far as what's going on, is there a reason to have somebody make sure we're paying someone to look at this to make sure it works right?
Director Compuris, the state can't collect a tax voted by the people of a locality for the locality and direct it to something else under the Arkansas Constitution. So if the tax is collected, it's got to go to the entity that paid for it. The exception to that is, I think it's a 3% fee that the Department of Finance and Administration charges for the collection and distribution and for the payment of improper taxation.
Great.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
I just wanted to share with the board that I did meet with Congressman French Hill today in his office with some other person, so it seems that this tax, I don't know whether we're talking about the same tax, but he says that it's favorable, so I don't know what that means.
Said what?
Favorable, the tax, the letter that you sent to the Congressman.
Well, I have had a conversation, thank you, Director Hendricks, I have had a conversation with Congressman Hill, who offered to visit in some forum in the future as it relates to the Congress's action on this issue.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've had conversations with Senator Bozeman's staff about the same issue, and of course, Senator Bozeman has long been a supporter of the tax. I've not heard anything from Senator Cotton to my letter, and so certainly, I guess he's having a town hall meeting up in Northwest Arkansas. Maybe we can get one here. Okay, is there any other Director Hines, you have a question?
Just to add a comment, I also had a conversation with Congressman Hill today too, and I think he was seeking direction not only to come talk to us, but kind of what we were looking for. And one of the things I told him, I said, we understand that most of the Arkansas delegations on board with marketplace fairness. Is
3 out
that
of
what
6.
else could we do? Well, I think we lost some ground. We did have the majority of them at one point, but just. I told him, I said, we're really looking for what else can we do outside of that to push the ball forward. So I think like I said, it's positive, and he said it's just you've got opposing forces at the level. I also brought up we had a little conversation about the former I think it's either North Dakota or South Dakota Supreme Court case that set this in motion, which was back during the days before the internet and before this, where it dealt with a catalog company. And I said, I only like to play attorney when I'm up here at the city board level, but I thought that maybe an internet connection to a computer in a home seemed like a physical presence to me. and that maybe there's a new argument that maybe our Attorney General, somebody might be able to take up, that the internet has changed things, and that decision was pre-internet, and the fact that an internet connection with computer gives every online retailer a storefront right in your home. So, to me, that seems like a physical
We like
connection
that
to the state.
interpretation, and the nexus question that the Quill case said was necessary, that and found that not to be existence, maybe they'll take that as a new
Well,
definition.
And Congressman Hill said that they want to battle with Texas on their no branch banking because they had a pneumatic tube that made a physical connection from the main bank to the branch bank. And they were able to defeat that antiquated deal back many years ago. Texas did away with that. So we had an interesting conversation about that. But I think maybe a multi-pronged attack, if we can't get it in Congress, we should resort to the courts again to see if we can get them to.
And I do think there's been some discussion about this court revisiting that issue. So those things don't happen as quickly as we'd like them to, unfortunately. Director Wright.
Mayor, my comment is not on that, it's for the city manager. So if you all are done with that, I just wanted to.
Go ahead, please. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore, you gave us a private board contact use for city employees only, and you have me down for a fax that I do not have. And I don't want people calling my house and put me in automatic fax and my phone ringing in the middle of the night. I've had that. So will you please have your staff take that off?
Didn't really schedule something on a Tuesday night, did you?
Okay. All I know is you're the city manager, they work for you, and there's a fax on there, and I do not have that.
Okay,
that was 8
we'll
years
take
ago.
care of that.
Thank
Director Hines.
Motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Is there a second? All in favor indicate by,
I think tomorrow is Director Peck's birthday. Do y'all want to leave before you at least say that?
we'll wish you a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All in favor of the motion to adjourn indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. We're in adjournment. Thank you.